final trading day for the Market Street before the long Easter holiday tomorrow across, not just in Nigeria, but across other jurisdictions around the world. So let's check in with our fixed income space before we have the final session. Of course, the market still trading whole day till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Toba Showabima is a fixed income dealer at FSDH Merchant Bank. Is joining us from FMDQ Exchange Place in downtown Lagos. Thank you, Toba. It's good to have you.
My pleasure.
Great. So what's the big story here for the market? Let's trade to the Easter holiday. Yesterday, the central bank, the regulator, threw in some treasuries auctions here, just as everyone thought. But today is the maturing of about 107 billion naira treasuries. So how will liquidity balance out before we close the doors for the weekend?
So the two stories, first of all, the one you said is that we do have a maturity coming in today, 107 billion. We haven't heard any news of an OMO auction being held today. That in itself is because that the liquidity in the system is currently very low. The market has been in a repo for the past few days. That's given to the fact that we've had a deduction from the system for the provisions made by banks at the FX intervention on Friday for the retail auction and on Monday for the wholesale auction. So that has taken a significant amount of liquidity out of the system. The second important story is that we had an auction. The NTB auction was conducted yesterday by the CBN. We had all three tenors on offer, the 91, 182, and 364 days. The amount was pretty minimal. It was just about 58.5 billion across the maturities. We saw significant demand. It was oversubscribed for 223 billion was the total amount which was subscribed for, and then that obviously led to a drop in rates across the maturities. We had on average 12 basis points drop across the maturities. The 1 year closed at 12.74 from 12.85%. 182 days also dropped to 12.5 from 12.6%, while the 91 days recorded the biggest drop from 10.29 to 10.1499%, about 14 basis points.
Okay, so if we see a very tight system liquidity before the holidays, well, where do you think the market will, how do you think the market will end up today on the yield curve? And everyone will say, well, fine, let's just take a breather. We'll be back on Tuesday.
So, yeah, everybody does want to take a breather, but then we still have lingering demand, which wasn't met at the auction yesterday. So we do expect that a bit of that will trickle into the market today. On the 1 year, it was oversubscribed for 161 billion. Only 49 billion of that was sold. So we still expect a bit of demand to trickle into the market today. The activity might not be as significant as previous days, but we still do expect demand to trickle into the secondary market today.
Okay, so Toba, what are you preparing for next week? What's the big story on the debt market for next week?
So next week we have the bond auction next week. We have two new issuances. We have the 30-year bond, which is going to be the first issuance. We have a very small amount on it, just about 20 billion. We also have a new 10-year bond on auction, the 2029, and the 5-year bond. The amount is just 100 billion, 40 on the 5 and 10-year, and 20 on the 30-year bond. So we expect that it's the first time it's going to be issued. We expect to see the pricing around what the current market levels are at the moment in the secondary market.
You think liquidity will have improved somewhat before the 24th, around middle next week, when the DMO will be rolling this out, the 100 billion?
Well, liquidity would have improved slightly. If they don't do any auction today, then that liquidity remains in the system. We have another maturity next week as well. So that liquidity will also bolster, that info will also bolster the liquidity in the system. We would also have a refund into the market next week for the FX that wasn't sold to banks. So we'll have a refund. So we do expect the liquidity to improve slightly, and it's not a very significant amount on offer, by the way. It's just 100 billion total. So the liquidity in the system should be enough to attend to that.
Okay, let's take a breather, shall we? Have a great Easter holiday. And of course, before then, a profitable trading day before the closing bell.